Joseph M. Cherry. If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. May we, as people of faith, be granted the strength to be so bold, so brave, and so loving. So I'd like to introduce Jakaran Olaoya, who will introduce our speaker tonight.
Universalism is an organization that saves both faith and lives. When I found BLUU, I was unsure that UU was my faith home, unsure that I could continue doing faith work, and unsure that I could be my authentic self after a multitude of hurts. The silver lining in this uncertainty is that I committed myself to a couple of projects in BLUU in an effort to draw near other Blacks and youths. My intention was to just make a couple of new Facebook friends, but I was gifted with so much more. I now have a community of people I can call on any time to share my successes, my pain. We can talk about Black liberation theology or church lady hats. I was able to work on projects that allowed me to use my gifts and to bless others in ways I never could have imagined. I realized after a few months that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. My desire to go into ministry was heightened with every connection I made with new people. I finally applied to start King and was accepted for fall 2019. I made this choice because the love and community created in this space expanded my faith in a way that makes my desire to serve feel real and useful. In a few short moments, Dr. Takiyah Amin will share her work with BLUU and tell her story. It has not been easy. It has not been pretty. It has not been sunshine and rainbows. However, BLUU has fed souls, soothed wounds, and renewed faith in community. There's no need to introduce Dr. Amin. She is well-known, well-loved, and even has her own fan club among religious educators. And if you're not a member, I know you will be after tonight. Applications are in her. I will read her bio printed if you're handed out, but I will tell you that she is a phenomenal scholar, leader, and storyteller, and she will make you want to change the world with her.
That's right.
At this time, I would like to invite Dr. Takiyah Amin, the content director for Black Lives UU, to the stage.
Here's what's funny about that. When you get an introduction like that, then it's like, well, now I gotta be good. An introduction like that, it's like, well, and I'm also a Taurus, and I like long walks on the beach. I want to thank you, LREDA, for having me. It's really wonderful to be here among you. I know that this year's Odyssey presentation is a departure from what you usually have. sadly not a religious educator with years of lessons to share with you from the field, but I do hope that what I can share with you tonight about BLUU will encourage you and inspire you. Whenever I do presentations like this, the exciting part for me isn't the presentation itself, because I already know what I'm going to say. Okay? So the exciting thing for me is engaging with you and your questions. So I'm going to talk for a little bit. I'll do my best not to be too dry or too boring, and then we're going to open it up for questions, and we'll do that for as long as we can until somebody tells me to stop. Because I have also been notified that I'm the only thing standing between you and dessert. I'm not trying to fight nobody over a piece of cake. All right. Then advance the slide. So a lot of people don't know BLUU's origin story. Raise your hand for me if you don't know how BLUU started. Okay, cool. It's a fair amount of you. Okay, so BLUU started in July of 2015. I will say for those of us involved in this work, it doesn't feel like it's just been a little over 3 years. Sometimes it feels more like 300 years in the work, but it started in July of 2015 at the Movement for Black Lives convening. Now, this was a gathering of Black folks from all over the country who were galvanized to build a national movement for Black liberation. About 1,500 folks there. And you had a handful of Black UUs who happened to all be at this conference together. They didn't know that they were going to be there together, but that's kind of how it happened. And over the course of the convening, sharing meals and small conversations, they gathered and talked about their shared pain in this faith, their shared vision and aspiration for this faith, and their desire to build and galvanize a national movement of Black folks at the intersection of both liberation for Black people and Unitarian Universalism. So BLUU comes out of that historic convening in July of 2015. If you were on social media in September of 2015, like me, you might have seen this burgundy image right here. Okay? Leading up to September 14th, this image kept popping up on Twitter and on Facebook. The revolution begins September 14th. And I remember seeing it and thinking, what is that? Who are those people? What's a Black Lives UU? Am I one? Can I be one? Whatever revolution is, I want to know. And so it wasn't clear yet who these people were or what this was. But from September 14th to September 20th of that year, the Black Lives UU Organizing Collective released what they call the 7 Principles of Black Lives. And one came out every day on Twitter and on Facebook. Each day there was a principle that was released and an explanation of that principle. You see the 7 Principles of Black Lives there, beginning with the first one, all Black Lives Matter. And each day it became clear to those of us looking and watching and paying attention that somehow folks were making connections between this larger movement for liberation and a commitment to Black freedom struggle and Unitarian Universalism. Something to know about me, I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. All right. 716, okay. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. My mother taught in the Buffalo Public Schools for almost 30 years. I come from a multi-faith family. My parents are Muslim, my grandparents are Christian, and I come from a community of organizers. If you know anything about Buffalo, Buffalo is a working class, Rust Belt community, and we've had to fight for just about everything we have. My parents were very active during the 1960s movement for liberation. My father was in the Nation of Islam. My mother was active in the Black Panther Party for self-defense. So as I was watching this from, my couch, it resonated with me on a really deep level. Unitarian Universalism has felt in many ways like a welcome home for me as someone from a multi-faith background, because Unitarian Universalism does not ask me to disown either my parents or my grandparents in terms of the faith that they gave me, right? I don't have to leave my mama or my grandmama at the door, It's okay for me to read my Quran here. It's okay for me to read my Bible here. If I open my mouth and pray in Arabic, people usually don't look at me like I'm strange. But Unitarian Universalism has been a much less welcome home for me as a Black person.
Right.
As a Black working class woman, right? And so as I was watching this, it sounded and felt like something I had often wished was growing and burgeoning and bubbling in his faith. Yeah? I actually want to dig in a little bit to that first principle. The first principle, all Black lives matter. This idea that Unitarian Universalism is a faith that proclaims the inherent worth and dignity of every person. So then why can't we work for a world together that proclaims the unequivocal value of Black lives, period? And not this notion that Black lives only have value when they are conforming to white middle class norms, right? I've lived in 6 different cities, lots of traveling, and I've been a member of, I think, 5 different congregations to this point, and I've had lots of experiences where, you know, Black folks were welcome as long as they talked like white folks, dressed like white folks, worked where the white folks worked. You know, it was okay to be present as long as you conform to sort of the dominant identity that was already present in the space. And with this first proclamation that Black lives matter, no matter how they dressed or sounded, or whether they had a Ph.D. or no degree, really resonated very deeply with me in terms of affirming the unequivocal value of Black life. So immediately in 2015, Black Lives and Unitarian Universalism hit the ground running. You can see there's the banner from the Black Lives and Unity website. So immediately a web presence was established. You can follow Black Lives and Unity on Facebook, on Twitter, connect with them via email, on Instagram, or on Medium. Medium is where BLUU began to push out and publish its group-based statements around issues of importance. You can sign up for a mailing list. BLUU developed a front-facing Facebook page, which anyone can like. We have, I think, a little over, maybe something like 6,000 likes or so on our front-facing page. I know we have just over 660 members of our closed Facebook group, which is an explicitly Black space. I chuckle when I think about that because I can't help but think that if we were a congregation, we'd be a pretty large one. So when people tell me that Black folks aren't interested in Unitarian Universalism, I'm like, lies. BLUU also had a regular recurring presence on The View. How many of you watch The View? Know about The View, right? So The View being the kind of web-based show that the Church of the Larger Fellowship does. So BLUU had a regular recurring appointment. We were on The View every single month. And immediately there was a way to kind of plug in and connect. So when people act like they can't find BLUU or don't know where it is or never seen anything about it, I'm like, but if Google is your friend, if you just type in Black Lives UU, a lot of resources come up. The link isn't there, but we also have a very prominent YouTube channel. I'm not showing video clips tonight, but if you go to YouTube and you type in Black Lives and Unitarian Universalism, you will see our appearances from The View. You'll see video announcements that we've put out. You'll see webinars that we've hosted leading up to General Assembly. You will also see video highlights from in-person events that we've hosted. So if you're interested in learning more about BLUU or signing up on our mailing list, we really encourage you to do that. It's best probably to hear about BLUU from BLUU, right? So there's lots of different ways for you to plug in, and we encourage you to do that if you have an ongoing interest in our work. Yeah. Okay, so here's when it got really good. I mean, it was good already, but here's when I got involved, so it got better. Amen and amen. All right, so this is 2016, and BLUU decided to have a presence that year at General Assembly. And I think it's important for people to know that BLUU requested financial support to help Black folks and other people of color get to General Assembly that year. BLUU, in partnership with the UUA Stewardship and Development Office, support from the board, worked together to ensure that there would be more representation of Black youths at General Assembly. And at the end of the day, we're able to get about 100 folks who've never been to a GA before there. Now, that might not sound like a big thing, but let me just tell you that I went to my first GA in 2009. It was in Utah. I was very excited. It was my first General Assembly. I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, going to GA. Banner parade, can't wait. But General Assembly is overwhelmingly and oppressively white. And I don't mean that in terms of people being mean or rude, though that does happen. But just the overall tone and tenor of General Assembly can be really hard if you're there for several days and you don't see nobody that looks like you, or there's no place that sounds like you, or there's no place that's talking about the things that are important to you in this faith. And I remember being at that GA in 2016, and it was exciting because you see Black people in the hallway, and even if you didn't know them, we look at each other. Head nod, you know, that sense of recognition was there, and that wasn't something that many of us had felt at General Assembly before. You also had a lot of Black youths who were very clear that Unitarian Universalism is their faith identity, but hadn't necessarily felt welcome at General Assembly until being there with a groundswell of other Black folks in the space. So it seems like a small thing, but it was a really, really important effort. The other thing that was really exciting, at least to me, about General Assembly in 2016 was that BLUU hosted a 4-session track at General Assembly. Now, they'd only been around since 2015, right? Don't matter. We got work to do. It's time to push out this message. And the track that year included a panel that focused on the history of BLUU, right? So BLUU's been sort of promoting and talking about its origins and its work from the very beginning. A session on the ongoing work that BLUU was planning and looking to do both with and for Black Unitarian Universalists. A workshop on anti-Blackness, and also information on the upcoming Black Lives convening that they were going to be hosting. Okay? So in addition to bringing people to the space, hosting this 4-session track, part of the highlight of General Assembly that year for me was that BLUU hosted a healing space, an explicitly Black healing space. I smile now because when you go to General Assembly, everybody got a healing space. Left-handed people got a healing space. People with red hair got a healing space. Get what you need to get. Get what you need to get. Okay? But you need to understand the backlash that BLUU got for hosting just a space for Black people to be in together that other people could not be in, right? Lots of white folks run around GA talking about how it wasn't fair that they couldn't come in the room, and I just want to know what they're doing in there, and if what they're doing in there isn't a secret, then why can't we know about it? Look. I'm gonna tell you what we was doing there, y'all want to know?
Yes.
None of your business. National surveillance. To be able to have a moment in the context of our faith community where we could be together away from that, however temporarily, was really important. And BLUU took the lead to really create that space. And it was a space for, notice that it's not just called, the Black people room. It's the BLUU healing space. So if you're wondering what's happening in there, healing is what's happening. Right? And sometimes we need to be able to do that out from or away from the watchful eye of other folks. Yeah. Okay, so after GA, the work didn't stop. BLUU is very busy building relationships and capacity, right? Amplifying the policy platform that was released by the Movement for Black Lives, connecting UU congregations with Black organizers. So, if we knew that there were organizers in a particular community that needed meeting space or other resources, we could connect them with congregations who had resources to share. And beautifully, there were lots of UU congregations that stepped up and said they wanted to be providing relationship and resources for this larger movement for Black lives. And so, BLUU was really the conduit for helping to build those relationships. BLUU was a part of the Revive Love Tour, going to several of the tour stops with that, participating in the Many Rivers to Cross Festival, Participating in the No Dabble action at Standing Rock, not only were BLUU organizing collective members there, we also coordinated raising funds and getting additional resources, everything from rope to gloves and hand warmers there. And also participating in some of the organizing and work around the Women's March. So sometimes folks will run on me or other members of the organizing collective and, well, I haven't seen BLUU doing anything lately. What is BLUU doing? Even if you don't see it, it doesn't mean something isn't happening. And often what's happening is we're building and increasing capacity for Black Unitarian Universalists. I mean, one of the reasons that BLUU exists is to increase the power and capacity for Black youths in our face. Increase power and capacity, not increase representation, not increase numbers. Increase power and capacity, and that requires relationships, and it requires relationships both within and across BLUUism, but also beyond it. One of the challenges that I see in Unitarian Universalism is that as a faith community, we can be pretty insular, right? Kind of navel-gazing, right? And I think as a result of that, we miss out on really wonderful opportunities to build relationship with other people who are doing the work of liberation. I also think, and you know, unpopular opinion, but I also think that sometimes we see ourselves as intellectually and theologically superior to other communities. Okay, so rescue me if I'm wrong. Stop me when I start lying, okay? So sometimes I think that that sense of superiority keeps us from building meaningful relationships or learning from models that other communities have just because we think we're better than them, right? And that kind of attitude and perspective is something that BLUU has really tried to push back on from the beginning. And so participating in other community building efforts, building relationships, developing communities that will have increased capacity for impact has been really, really essential in the work that BLUU has done so far. Okay, I will say that, let me just go back half a step. When BLUU brought all those Black folks to General Assembly in 2016, we were in, was that Columbus? Yeah, that was right. So we're in Columbus, and they had Black folks set up in Airbnbs all around the city. And they needed house captains for the different Airbnbs. I was lucky enough to be tagged as a house captain. I'm not exactly sure why, other than the fact that I'm incredibly type A. Like very type A, and like, you know, wanting to make sure people get where they need. Do you need an Uber? And no, let me call it on my phone. Guys, breakfast is at 9 a.m. I'm one of those people, right? And it was so wonderful to be in this house with, I was in a house of all Black women UUs. The youngest was 18, the oldest was in her 60s. And just to be there together, experiencing General Assembly with them, and then coming back and talking about our shared faith in the evenings was a really wonderful and generative experience. And shortly after General Assembly is when the organizing collective called and invited me to be a part of the OC lead team, because I must have done a good job as a house captain. So I went from sort of watching BLUU a little bit at a distance to now working with the organizing collective. And people will often ask, you know, well, how do you get to work with BLUU? And how do you get to work on the organizing collective? We're an organizing collective, which means we're a bunch of people who work. So the way to work with BLUU is to work with BLUU. We do calls all the time for volunteers that are needed to support different projects. And the way that people are sort of seen in that process and bubble up to different areas of leadership or working is by engaging and doing the work. It's not, well, I'm going to be a part of BLUU's leadership and then start working. It's, I'm already working for liberation. I'm already working to build capacity. I'm already committed to these things. My life speaks louder than my lips in that way. And that's how people bubble up to leadership in terms of the work that we do. So 2017 spring was a big deal. This is March 9th to the 12th, historic convening of Black UUs in New Orleans. Anybody in here who was there? Oh, hey, y'all. All right. I would say that this was kind of a scary endeavor because BLUU was bringing together about 120 Black youths from all around the country. When you plan something like this, there's a lot of detail, a lot of work that goes into it. And I remember that day we were getting ready to open registration, and I turned to Leslie and said, so what if nobody comes? Like, we've done all this, and what if nobody shows up? They're gonna come, T. We promise, people got on the plane, it's going to happen. And the doors opened, and people started flooding in. And what was really exciting about the convening was that I think our youngest attendee at that time was 4 months old. Our oldest attendee was in their 70s. You had lots of Black folks who were very clear they were Unitarian Universalists, but had not come to a UU-sponsored anything in years. Some in decades. Feeling isolated in this faith, feeling pushed out of the faith, feeling ostracized out of congregational life, largely because of a dominant cultural narrative that they did not see themselves in, right? And so BLUU was instrumental in bringing those folks back. We didn't know we were going to be, right? That wasn't necessarily a part of the plan, but sometimes you gotta leave room for spirit to do what it's gonna do. And there were things that happened at that convening that we couldn't anticipate. In addition to having lots of small group discussions about what the forward direction of BLUU is going to be and getting a sense of the kinds of ongoing needs that Black UUs have in our faith, there were several worship services at the BLUU convening, and all I can say is, if somebody tells you that you cannot have a worship service that is both explicitly Black and decidedly Unitarian Universalist, it's not true. Because we did it. We did it several times. And it's possible to have an expressive engagement with this faith that centers both the aesthetic priorities and cultural realities of Black people without that being somehow anathema to Unitarian Universalism. I'm going to put Aisha on the spot. Come up here, Aisha. Because I know she's one of your people. Aisha was at the convening, and she was there because we really trusted her as a religious educator to come in and work with our youth and young adults. We did have several young folks who came to the convening, and it was really special for them because for many of them, they might be the only Black UU youth that they know. And this was an opportunity for us to change that. So can you say a little bit about working with the youth at the convening?
So it was Kenny Wiley, Kimberly Quinn Johnson, and I who were the three leaders of the youth. We had Black male teenagers, Black female identified teenagers, and then the youngest who was with us was, I think, 11, Royce's daughters. And so here, okay, I'm gonna tell you a story. So just the way they bonded and bonded with us and so open-hearted, but we took them out to eat. And so because I'm going to attribute to that neither Kim nor Kenny have their own children, I have two of my own. We go out to get beignets, because we were in New Orleans. So they get all these beignets, and all of a sudden one of these like, I'm going to just eat all the rest of the sugar. And I'm like, no! And Kenny and Kimberly thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And I'm like, all right, so I'm like, I'm just So we go to the food court, where one of the 11-year-olds was allergic to like everything under the sun. She goes, don't worry, I got this. She went and got French fries and something else incredibly unhealthy. We're like, you sure not allergic to that? No, it's gluten-free. French fries, I guess, are gluten-free. So then, everybody ate whatever they wanted, and what was so great was we come back, the parents thanked us, and here's what I would tell you. I said, Kenny and Kimberly, if this was a white UU youth group, I would have had complaints to the board about how dare I feed their children sugar, fried food. And I said this was just an experience where everyone just showed affection and love to each other, to the adults, to elders, and I promise you it was a glimpse to me of what Unitarian Universalism could be centered in whiteness. It was an honor. Thank you so much. And I'm going to touch on this briefly. How many of you, raise your hand if you know about the money that the UUA board committed for BLUU? Okay. So that commitment happened in October of 2016 in advance of the convening. You saw all that work that BLUU had been doing up to that point, right? So when people say, why was BLUU given those resources? It's not like BLUU hadn't been doing anything.
right? The organizing collective had been organizing, working, and building capacity for some time, long before that commitment of financial resources had been made. I think that's important to understand. The other thing is, I'm just going to break down very quickly, because somewhere in the universe, my executive director is watching this on live stream, and I know that she would appreciate that. Okay? So the 5.3 million, right? Everybody talks about it as if somebody wrote black people a check for 5.3 million. That's not what happened. If it had happened, we'd have been glad, but that's not how it went down. Okay? So it was a one-time infusion of $300,000 in 2017. And that was to cover operating costs for BLUU's fiscal year, as well as funding for the convening. Okay? One of the things that we were committed to was ensuring that if there was a black UU anywhere that wanted to be at the convening, but didn't have the means, that they could get there. We ended up having to pay 80% of registration, food, lodging, and travel for people to get this. Right? A lot of times I hear people say that there isn't enough class diversity in Unitarian Universalism. We have plenty of class diversity, it's just a lot of it's brown. And when people will say, well, I don't think we have a race problem, we have a class problem, those two things live in the same universe. Right? We need to think in a more intersectional way about those questions. We also learned in the process of organizing the convening that when you have lots of people coming to something, many of whom aren't used to traveling, they also don't have a credit card to put down on the room to guarantee, right? Those things that we kind of take for granted. So when you're planning things and you want the event to be inclusive, those are the kinds of things you have to think about, and something that we learned in our organizing. The fund also included $225,000 of an annual operating budget until 2020, right? So that was 5 years, or until BLUU is an independent organization, whichever happens first. I can tell you that we have filed our articles of incorporation and are well on track to be an independent organization by the end of 2019. So there's that. And then an additional $5 million for long-term investment to be used for Black Unitarian Universalists, directed by BLUU as a long-term investment. What did we do with the convening? We had lots and lots of conversations with Black UUs about what they wanted that long-term investment to look like. So it's not 5 people in a room making a decision. It's us together as a community in ongoing ways, making decisions around how those resources are going to be used on behalf of Black Unitarian Universalists. We also conducted a survey of Black UUs after the convening that has continued to guide our ongoing work. Go ahead, Dan. So since the convening, yeah, you can hit it again. This is one with all the images. Yeah. So since the convening and hearing from Black UUs about the kinds of things they wanted, lots and lots and lots of things have happened in life of BLUU. If you sign up on our mailing list, you will get regular updates from our wonderful executive director, Linda K. Gardner, and you can find out all about BLUU's projects and current activities there. We also have BLUU Micro 30, which is our effort to situate Black Unitarian Universalists right at the intersection of both faith development, or deepening our faith, and also justice making in the world, what we call justice making and liberation through our faith. One of the things that's been a real challenge that lots of Black youth have shared with us is when you are in most UU congregations, it's kind of like faith is over here and social justice work is over here somewhere, right? And for lots of the folks we've interacted with, they don't bifurcate in that way, right? The people that we are in community with are largely here, excuse me, guys, just my alarm telling me I've been talking to you for 30 minutes. Most of the folks we work with let us know that for us, the justice work that they do in the movement for Black Lives is because they're Unitarian Universalists. It's justice making and liberation through our faith. Through our faith. It's our faith that calls us to do the work that we do. We are faithful Unitarian Universalists trying to live out our values in the world through this work. And so BLUU Micro 30 is for us a kind of container where we do that organized work. Oh, this is one of my favorites. We call it BLUU. That is the BLUU Ministerial Network. And this is our effort to really support the ongoing pastoral and spiritual needs of Black Unitarian Universalists. Through BLUU, we have a pastoral care line where any Black UU in the country can call, leave a message, let us know what's going on with them, let us know what their needs are. And we have a cadre of ministers and some religious educators and laypersons who will call back and have been trained to provide confidential pastoral care. I will tell you that every time something funky happens in the world, the pastoral care line goes away. I'm bracing myself for what it might look like on Tuesday. Right? Part of the reason why this is a real serious issue for Black youth is because often things will happen, Black people being abused or killed in the world, and you want to be with other Black people, but you don't want to necessarily have to explain your faith perspective in that moment. Or you want to be with Unitarian Universalists, but you don't want to necessarily have to explain to white UUs why you're angry, hurt, or upset about this particular issue facing Black people. I can remember that I was on fellowship at Harvard when the George Zimmerman verdict happened. And I was walking through Harvard Square, and I was heartbroken, and I was angry, and I was sad. And I really wanted to be in spiritual space. I wanted to be in spiritual community. And the first thing I remember thinking was, well, I'm not going to King's Chapel. Because the idea of me being, it seemed that the likelihood of me being further antagonized or misunderstood was probably higher in a UU space than not. And so what do you do if you're a Black person and you need Black community and culturally relevant faith community at the same time? And the BLUU Ministerial Network really works to do that. Through BLUU, we host 2 online all-Black worship services a month under the leadership of the amazing Reverend Michael Slack. We have daily affirmations via text message that anybody can sign up for. So if you're interested in getting a little inspiration every day via text, that's a way to stay connected. That seems like a small thing, the BLUU Affirmations Ministry. I lovingly refer to it as BAM. But part of the reason why the affirmations is such a big deal is so many Black UUs are in spaces where they might be the only. Right? We had a former member of the team who used to talk about how the only other Black UUs he knew were the people in his own family. The only Black UUs in his congregation were his own children. Right? And so just having something to remind you every day that you're connected to other people is especially important. BLUU Ministerial Network has also been essential in coordinating meetups and facilitating connections for Black UUs locally and regionally. BLUU supports. Whereas anybody at GA, yeah? Did you help do anything with us for Uzazi Village or doing the purse build as part of BLUU Supports? Okay, yeah. So BLUU Supports is our way to each month we choose a different cause or project that aligns both with our Unitarian Universalist principles and our 7 principles for Black lives. We're currently raising funds for the Septima Clark Learning Center at Highlander this month. We have raised funds for Indy Money Bail. We have raised funds and offered support on behalf of Black maternal care. It's been really exciting to see the kinds of projects we can support. And you can suggest projects to us. So if you go to BLUU's website, there's a contact, and one of the drop-down choices is BLUU Supports. And if there's a project you think that sits at this intersection of Black liberation and Unitarian Universalism, they might be the next BLUU Supports. It's a great way to kind of amplify good work happening on the ground. Anybody here at Revival this year? Okay. So in April of this year, we hosted Reclaim, which was a 3-day Black UU revival. Now, for my good church-going, Jesus-loving friends, the idea of a Black UU revival was like, wait a minute, what? Y'all can have that? We can, and we did. And it was really a 3-day celebration of spiritual renewal and community building. Amen. It was intergenerational. We had the amazing Bishop Yvette Flunder there, and when I tell you she preached to paint off every wall and broke every chain. We sang with the amazing Eastside Barwell, who led us in music. Again, it was a really transformational experience to see how many youth and young adults came and stayed for 4 worship services and wanted to help. Can I put up the chairs? Can I usher? Can I help with childcare? So don't tell me young people aren't interested in faith. Don't tell me young people don't want community. Don't tell me young folks aren't interested in what it is we have to offer. When we do it in a way that centers love, compassion, communication, and connection and authenticity, and we're really committed to welcoming people in, regardless of whether or not their pants are pulled up or if they drop the ing on the end of every word, people are welcome and people stay. And it was a life-changing experience. I was really happy to be a part of that. Oh, yes. Anybody here subscribing to Blue Box? Hi, Blue Box subscribers. Woo! Okay, so this is one of BLUU's newest projects that, as content director, I'm very, very proud about. We have a spiritual subscription box. And part of why we've done this is, again, to address that sense of kind of ongoing isolation that we know lots of Black youths are facing across the country. Here's the thing about Unitarian Universalism. Ours is a covenantal faith. You know that. That means you can't be a you by yourself. I mean, really, and, it seems like an overstatement, but it's true. Ours is a faith that is grounded in community and relationship. And if you have felt marginalized or pushed out of congregational life, it can be really hard to continue learning how to deepen and grow where do you get good UU 101 education deepening outside of congregational context for most sort of everyday people. A lot of folks don't know. And so spiritual subscription was a way to get folks culturally relevant, spiritually grounded content into their hands. The other thing that we're trying to do with Blue Box is really amplify the fact that Black people have been a part of Unitarian Universalism from the beginning. Black people have been a part of Unitarianism, Universalism, and Unitarian Universalism from the beginning of all of those faith communities and perspectives. See, part of the problem in most UU 101, UU 201s is that our faith gets casted as the good white people's religion. This is the good white people's faith. And aren't you glad to be here as a guest? When the truth of the matter is, we have been a part of shaping the theology of this faith from the beginning. And so one of the pieces of the box that I'm really proud of is we do profiles of historically relevant and prominent Black Unitarians, Universalists, and Black UUs, really trying to amplify the ways in which our people have been a part of this. It's increasingly important, I think, for all of us to realize that based on the survey and feedback that BLUU has gotten so far, Black folks come to Unitarian Universalism because they're interested in the theology. It's not the culture. It's not the way we sing. It's not the fact that many of our congregations have not figured out how to sort of wrestle Universalism out of a dominant Protestant worship frame that is wonderful, but isn't the only way to do church. Right? So how can we get our folks resources directly in their hands that is culturally relevant and spiritually grounded? We're doing that with the spiritual subscription box. I'm bringing up my comrade Leslie Mack, who has a fancy, amazing announcement to tell you about the Blue Box. Let's go! Announcement. It's fancy.
It's not that fancy. However, because we love all of you, and I will just say thank y'all so much, and thank Annie in particular for inviting me here this year. It's been a pleasure for Takiyah and I to be able to share with you and to deepen the connection between LREDA and BLUU. It's really been wonderful. But to that end, we are able to make an announcement tonight that for folks that are members of LREDA, you can sign up for the Blue Box between now and the end of November, and you will receive both the October box and the November box. Now, the October box sold out. It did. But I have a few extra boxes. So all you have to do is go to the website that's out there. There'll be a little spot for you to just put in LREDA right in there, and you'll get not just one box in November, but you'll get 2 of them. And the funds that we collect via Blue Box go directly to support the work that we do. We believe really strongly in paying Black people for their labor. And so any of the people that work with us, all of the folks that, even if they start out as volunteers, once they start doing substantial work, they start getting paid for the work that they do. When we have revival, everybody that comes and helps us with worship, everybody that comes and does work with us, we make sure that they're compensated, because that is a really important piece of the work that we do to make sure that Black folks' work is both compensated and valued. So blacklivesU.com/Blue Box. Just enter LREDA in, you'll get 2 boxes for the price of 1. Okay.
And I do want to make this announcement in terms of, what's BLUU doing next. We're really focusing in 2019 on creating more opportunities for Black folks to talk about and engage with deepening the theology and their understanding of Unitarian Universalist theology and our relationship to it. There will be a kickoff event in January, Whose Faith Is It Anyway panel, that more information will be coming out about that via our mailings. But I do want everyone to save the date for October of 2019. We will be hosting the first ever Harper Jordan Memorial Symposium, where we will be proclaiming in Black Hebrew theology. And this will be an opportunity for us to gather and talk about what might a Black Hebrew theology centered in not just the theorizing of white men with historical access, but a people's theology of Black folks who have been living this faith look like. How might we articulate that, support that, and continue to lean into that? 2019 will also mark the year that we will have its institutional, organizational independence. It will no longer be a sponsored project of the UUA. So by 2020, when BLUU turns 5, hopefully we'll all still be together and have a lot to celebrate. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna shut up now.
Who's Harper Jordan? Who is Harper Jordan?
Who's Harper Jordan? So the symposium is named after Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, a prominent Black Unitarian woman, and Joseph Jordan, the first ordained Universalist minister. And it's important for us to lift up that history in the name of the symposium, and we will also be, the sessions at the symposium will also be named after prominent Black Unitarians and Universalists who have really given us this faith as a heritage and as an inheritance.
Amen.
So thank you so much. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about me, about BLUU, about anything. We all have a responsibility for it. That's right. Especially in a racial context. And I don't know why you would want to invest one person with that job. That seems especially inefficient. That's right. And when I look at the history of Unitarianism and Universalism and our commitment to relational, covenantal, community faith, it just doesn't make good sense to me. So to me, that's like a foregone conclusion. I think what people are really trying to say is, what about shared power?
Well,
I think it's about shared power.
yes.
And I don't think we get to that by, Leslie talked about this in her workshop about change. We don't get to that by choosing a different governance structure every 5 years, or replacing your board chair every 3 years, or firing your DRE, or that's not it, right? Nobody believes this, but I'm telling you it's true. BLUU works in a flat organizing structure. We don't have an individual leader that we all kind of fall under, okay? Those of us on the organizing collective, can you advance the slide so people can see my team? That's us. Right? So you see to the right, that's Samuel Prince, Lena K. Gardner, our executive director. That's Reverend Michael Slack, that's me and Leslie. And then Paige Ingram, who's on staff as our BLUU community organizer. We have a set of working agreements that guide and govern how we work together. If you go to our website, they're public. You can download them, you can have them, you can use them to make your own working agreements. Just make sure you cite us, but we chose to make them public. I think we spent somewhere between, we spent like 6 months really deciding not what kind of work to do, but how we were going to work together. We had to go over every single word, every single phrase. We spent long time thinking through how we were going to resolve conflict together, what that was going to look like, thinking through what would it look like if someone wanted to leave the team, how do you exit the team responsibly. This doesn't mean that we agree on everything all the time. All of us have very strong personalities. We are not, the witches of Greek mythology sitting around passing the glass eye back and forth. We don't agree on everything all the time. But part of what our working agreements has given us is a sense that I might not agree, but that doesn't mean I'm taking my toys and I'm going home. And isn't that Unitarian Universalism?
Wow.
Right? Our working agreements are grounded in our theology. Our faith informs the ways in which we choose to work together. And so part of what I find kind of stultifying is how these conversations around shared ministry and shared power seem to be separate from any conversation around faith and theology. Like, we don't want to talk about our faith when it comes down to sharing power. Because to me, if we did, what we need to do becomes obvious pretty quickly. It doesn't necessarily become easy, but it does become obvious. And I think the extent to which we can draw a line from the practices we enjoy and the faith that we espouse in our shared living tradition, the better off we'll be. To me, that's what the problem is. There's too much of a space between the faith we articulate and then the practices that we enjoy that allow for asymmetrical power to persist in our faith. I could be wrong, but I'm not.
Oh, no.
Ask the team that's good. I see other hands. Yeah. Hi.
Hey,
I haven't seen you this week.
I'm so happy to see you.
Pretend like they're not here. It's just us.
Okay, it's us. I would love to hear, I know that it's helpful if congregations do the promise and the practice, and I know that it's helpful if we subscribe to Blue Box. But I want to hear, besides that, how you want white folks and non-Black POC folks to support you. And I wonder if there's a difference.
Well, one thing, thank you for the question, one thing that would be especially helpful is if you hear misinformation about BLUU, correct it or direct them to us. Direct them to the website, direct them to our Medium site where we publish statements. We're very, very careful about what, how, and when we communicate things publicly. And so if you're hearing something that doesn't seem to be in alignment with what I've shared tonight or what you've read about us, either correct it or point people to accurate information. That would be like half the battle right there, is making sure people have accurate information and know who to talk to. Our contact page is right there. If you send an inquiry, we get back to people in about a week, so we're happy to answer and respond to your questions. If you send us a question on the Facebook page, we respond to those as well. If you tweet us, we'll tweet back. Whatever it is, but pointing people towards us for accurate information or correcting anything you hear would be really helpful. I think the other thing is when you hear about work that BLUU is doing, amplify it. If you see the BLUU Supports Project, share it. Put it out in an email blast. Let people in your congregation know about it. It's not just about sort of pouring money in, but it really is about showing people a model that says, we can do faith this way. Well, BLUU is doing X. Maybe we could do a project like that here. It's really about showing and sharing this way of working, or this way of doing Unitarian Universalism, this way of living our faith, and having other people kind of lean into that with us. That would be really, really wonderful and really, really helpful. There have been some examples of that, and when we find out about it, we're always deeply moved. I mean, there are several groups that have gotten in touch with us that they're using our working agreements, or they saw BLUU Supports and now they're doing a similar project in their congregation. I mean, that's the kind of impact that we want to make, because what it does is it creates a culture that we can live in.
Right.
Not just Black youth, but together with everyone. Part of the hardest thing about being here in Unitarian Universalism is I'm a UU. I tried to be some other stuff, but it didn't really work. This is my faith. And I'm just trying to make it more tenable for myself to be able to stay here, and for people I love to be able to stay here, and for young people who are coming along to not have to know the pain and frustration from that. Where else do we get to go? You know, so it's really about trying to make this faith more livable for all of us. And those really help a lot.
Amen.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Amir.
Sure.
Would you share your thoughts a little bit on intersectionality? I hear that said a lot, and then when I Google it and look at the real source, which seems to be Kimberly Crenshaw. This is not a test.
Yes.
But I'm just saying it seems to be used in lots of different ways. So what are your thoughts on intersectionality?
Okay, thank you for the question. Kimberly Crenshaw is certainly the authority because she's the one who coined the phrase and is an active scholar and works in the legal field. She came up with intersectionality as a theory to explain particularly Black women's experiences, right? Intersectionality emerges as a way to talk very specifically about the ways in which Black women in particular were marginalized at the location of both race and gender, right? It always frustrates me, especially when I see things in our faith that will say, well, women and people of color. Women and people of color. Well, where am I? Because what gets suggested there often is that women are white,
Right.
and that people of color are usually male.
That's right.
So how am I supposed to find myself in, right? So Crenshaw was trying to really amplify the experiences of Black women who exist at a social location that creates a particular set of lived circumstances that are not favorable. Now that's not the only way to think about intersectionality, right? In a broader sense, people have been using intersectionality to think about the ways in which none of us is just one thing at a time, right? We all have multiple identities that might align us for privilege or harm in any given context. I'm a Black woman in the world, but I am also working class, but I am also English-speaking, US-born, and cisgender. That gives me privileges in some ways and marked disadvantages in others. So intersectionality is really a lens or framework to get us to think about the multiplicity of identities that all of us carry and how they both confer privilege and also detract from it in complex institutional contexts. Is that helpful? Yeah. I got to put my Ph.D. hat on.
That's right.
That's right.
You
Not
do
good.
that academic thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm sorry, Sarah Scorchell. I found myself with a lot of emotion listening to talks that goes back. I grew up at the Church of Restoration in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Oh, really? I was a member of Germantown,
Awesome.
right around the corner.
I met Jonathan every week. We can talk. But I found a lot of emotion coming out of me because a lot of my elders in that congregation growing up were people who were really deeply hurt by the Black empowerment crisis.
And so the question is, and I feel really moved and like, I'm so happy that there is more community for my peers who are Black than there was for those beloved elders of mine. But my question is, how has BLUU interacted with that history?
Sure.
How have you related to that history and brought what needed to come forward and left what needed to be left behind?
I got you. Thank you for the question. I think we've interacted with that history in a few ways. One is that we have been very intentional with building relationships with Ntangolisi Sangika, who was Hayward Henry at the time, who was very active in the work around Buck and Bow and all of that, right? In terms of having an elder come and talk to us about what that lived experience was, who was present, what the stakes were, what the challenges were. We had a panel presentation about that at the convening. We've hosted several workshops about it at General Assembly and also brought him to speak at GA. So that was really important. We also see ourselves and have been told by elders in that movement that BLUU is directly in line with the commitment toward Black liberation that folks were articulating at that time. And I think part of the pain that comes out of that moment is because, again, there's a particular perspective that Unitarian Universalism is somehow at its best when we are all in a multicultural moment, right? Like I've had people say, well, it must be hard to be in BLUU because it's not diverse. I'm always like, do you know Black people? The presence of white people or non-Black people of color doesn't somehow fundamentally make us space diverse. Blackness is always already diverse, right? It's Black lives in Unitarian Universalism. It's not African American. And even African American life is already diverse, right? So we're already thinking in kind of a diasporic framework. I think one of the distinctions that you'll find, and I don't think it's telling tales out of school to say this, is that of those who are concerned about the asymmetries of power and the lack of resources that have been committed to Black ministry and engagement at that time is that not everybody who was involved in that conversation necessarily identified as Unitarian Universalists. This is the 60s, right? So for some Black folks, it was, well, we'll be here to the extent that this institution will commit itself to Black liberation. One of the distinctions in this moment is that the folks who are engaged with BLUU and in BLUU, for the most part, we're UUs. We are Unitarian Universalists and what we call folks who are UU adjacent. Those are folks who are sort of dating us. They aren't sure if they want to commit yet. Right? I mean, one of the challenges we face is when we're out in organizing space, UUs just have bad PR.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't even know that we exist.
Yes.
Or, sadly, if they know Unitarian Universalism, they have had negative experiences with white UUs.
Yeah.
So then they're surprised that there are Black UUs. You're Black, you're still there? Like they're very surprised that we made a home for ourselves in the context of this faith.
Yeah.
So part of what we see ourselves doing is what we call redemption work, healing work around that rift. The resources that were allocated to BLUU definitely come out of that moment where a promise of funds were made to Black people and then sort of reneged on. So as far as I'm concerned, the resources that BLUU has been given are resources that have been owed to Black people for 5 decades.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when people frame it as, oh, it came out of nowhere, it came out of nowhere. This is a promise that had been made and a promise that needs to be kept. So it's in that. It's also been in the pastoral care space where you have people who were a part of that moment who are watching and are tentatively thinking about re-engaging, but wondering if they'll be welcome, wondering if there's a space for them, wondering what is Unitarian Universalism now and is it going to be what it was in 1966. And us being able to be a soft place for them to come and engage and land and engage in some family and community has been really special. And I don't know that we anticipated how important that was going to be or how sensitive it would be. But that's really what it's been. Thank you for the question. so ago that sounded kind of exciting.
Oh, yeah.
So eighth principle's actually been around for a while. Eighth principle's been around since like 2004, but hasn't necessarily gained a lot of traction in this space, right? So that's the work of Paula Cole Jones, who's one of our beloved elders. Let me say it this way. BLUU put out a statement on our Medium page encouraging Unitarian Universalism to adopt the eighth principle. We are committed to the adoption of the eighth principle. We know that there are at least 5 or 6 congregations that have already adopted it locally. One of the things that annoys me, this is Takiyah talking, is people who want to read the eighth principle and wordsmith it to death. Well, I think there should be a comma here, and maybe we could shorten it. Leave it. Leave it. The people who birthed it, the people who crafted it, birthed it and crafted it in a particular kind of way to say what it says. And that Unitarian Universalists are unequivocally called to dismantle racism and to fight against white supremacy. I have been shocked by hearing white UUs at General Assembly say, well, if the eighth principle gets passed, I have to leave because these people are hijacking my faith. Well, what is your faith? I mean, if the principle says that we're anti-racist, and that means you're not UU anymore, well, what do you believe now? I mean, that makes me a little, I mean, what are you actually committed to in this moment? I think, and I'm not entirely certain, but I think that eighth principle comes up for discussion. Somebody who knows GA better than me. Is it 2020 that it comes up? I don't think it's this year. I think it's next year. There will be a conversation and deliberation around the eighth principle. But BLUU already put out a statement. We support it. We endorse it. We think it should be adopted. Here's the thing. You shouldn't be able to call yourself a Unitarian Universalist and actively racist. Like, those two things shouldn't be. And that's not even me saying anything particularly profound. But the point is, because we haven't said it unequivocally, it's allowed for certain perspectives to proliferate in our faith that should not be here. If I hear one more person say, well, I'm a UU because I can believe whatever I want, I'm going to like my belief. Thank you. That's not what Unitarian Universalism is, and my faith is not a free-for-all. Right? Now, yes, we share this living tradition, but mama didn't raise no fool. And the reality of the situation is you should not be able to proclaim your open bigotry and also think that you can claim this faith as your identity. It does not work. And because we haven't made a bold, clear pronouncement about that, we end up kind of lost in the sauce. Look at the world today. People need bold, clear pronouncements of where you're saying. Nobody has time for their mealy mouth. Oh, I'm going to have to get real in here. Do it. Go. Here's the thing. For people who are being victimized under this current, I have to call it a regime, because I can't call it an administration.
That's right. That's right.
Nobody has time for these mealy-mouthed, lukewarm, oh, well, we're trying to make our faith be a tent for everybody. For everybody? No. Sure, I want Unitarian Universalism to be a faith for everybody. And yes, I believe in my faith in the future. Yes, I do. I think we have that capacity. But we need to be real clear about what we stand for and what we don't. And what's not acceptable here. And in our quest to make this a space for everybody, we're making it a space where people like me are openly harmed.
That's right.
Harmed. BLUU exists because black people were harmed in this faith. You think anybody on that BLUU, you think any of those people that you see right there don't have anything better to do? We have jobs and bills and commitments and illness and our own trauma to reconcile. One of the most frustrating things about all of this has been people suggesting that those of us who organize with BLUU are doing it because we're, quote, trying to make a name for ourselves in the faith. We already got a name. People who I would like to be known to know me, and that's that. None of us are doing this work because we're trying to be a celebrity. I could think of better ways to be a celebrity than to try to make a place for black people in this faith.
Well,
right? So the problem is we've been so unwilling to make a bold, clear, prophetic pronouncement about who we are and what our commitments are. And because we haven't done it, not only are we losing congregations, tell the truth, Numbers are dwindling.
Yep.
But we're also not shining a light for people who might be blessed if they found it.
Yep.
Right? And if I hear one more person talk about, well, I would love to do that, but we would lose people in our congregation. Let them go.
Yeah.
Show them
From the door. Yeah.
Walk into their house. I can't tell you how many emails we get. Oh, well, we want to have a BLM banner, but a Black Lives Matter banner, but the top donors in our congregation really don't want one. And they've told us that if we put it up, they're going to take your check and go. Go. Because and we will lose people by standing firmly in that truth, right? But more people will come. And the people who really want to be in this community will stay. I'd rather be in a smaller community of people with clear commitments than some big wishy-washy noodle-armed thing that isn't liberating anybody. So yes, ACE principle, yeah.
Hi, Takiyah.
Hi.
So, LREDA is in an interesting, exciting time. And beginning with our 3 religious educators of color who spoke up, led us, did a teach-in, and I'm wondering, and here we are at Fall Conference experimenting.
And make sure you tell people that the white supremacy is led by 3 religious educators. It wasn't a new project. It was religious educators. We supported it. We gave them website space, but that was religious educators who brought that watershed moment into this space. So own that.
And, thank you, Julika, for opening our fall conference, helping us further understand decentering whiteness. I'm wondering, with some bubbling excitement, if you can imagine some ways that LREDA and BLUU might work together, how maybe we can stop there.
You gonna let me dream out loud? Okay, so one of the things we know, and I encourage everyone, visit BLUU's Medium page, where you can read the results of the survey of Black UUs that we did in the fall of 2017. One of the things that we know from those results is that there is a real hunger for religious education that is culturally relevant and timely.
Amen.
Just like anybody else, a lot of Black folks come to Unitarian Universalism from other traditions. And, I think about my own family. My grandmother was in the AME church. My grandfather was Baptist. Both of my grandparents were going to Sunday school up into their 70s. My grandmother had an 8th grade education. My granddad had a 3rd grade education and was in Sunday school taking notes because there was this sense that there was still something to learn, right? And that you were supposed to be working on living out your commitment to that faith. When I visit UU congregations, and there's more knitting clubs and opportunities to play cards, then there are opportunities to talk about deepening our faith. It concerns me. And I'm all for knitting and cards, but wait a minute. Black people are not in this space because we're looking for a social club. We're not here because UUs are the best club around, right? This is about faith community. So I think religious educators stepping into their power to create more opportunities for people to learn what this faith is in a range of ways. We need it to be happening within congregations, across regions, and in other formats. We need more podcasts, we need more Facebook Lives, we need more webinars, we need more record something while you're on Zoom and throw it up on a YouTube channel so that people who've been pushed out of congregational life can get those resources. Unitarian Universalists don't just exist within our congregations. Right. My mother's Muslim. If my mother doesn't go to the mosque next Friday, she's still a Muslim. Right? It's hard to still feel Unitarian Universalist if you've been isolated from congregational life. So how do these educators serve Unitarian Universalists? not just UUs within the context of congregation. So that's one place to think of it. Another place I think to think of it has to do with OWL. A lot of the Black parents we've talked to really like OWL, but they do not want their baby going through OWL being the only chocolate drop in the milk.
Yeah.
So how can there be more partnerships between organizations beyond the congregation that are already working with Black and brown youth to offer that curriculum beyond congregational spaces?
Yes.
Right? How can you partner with folks who are already working with youth of color to train them to do whatever needs to happen to offer that curriculum? One of the things that BLUU is going to be looking at the next 2 years or so is a lot of Black parents want their young people to experience cons. I mean, cons are a big thing in youth life, but a lot of Black parents don't feel safe sending their baby away like that to be among a bunch of white folk.
Yeah.
My mama used to say, now she's inappropriate, so just know that. But when people would invite me camping and stuff, you can't go to that. Going in the woods with white people don't work out for us. So, thinking about how we might partner to offer, maybe it's BLUU and it's LREDA and it's camps and conference centers. And development, we're doing something particularly for youth of color. I feel like our last administration before last, I'm not naming names, but y'all know what I'm saying, wasn't youth friendly. And a lot of the resources that supported a pipeline for youth development and leadership kind of dwindled. It would be great to think about how we might breathe life back into that together.
Amen.
And maybe we could do some LREDA-sponsored content in BLUU Box. That's a way that we might work together. I mean, here's the thing about BLUU. We can do whatever we want to do, and so usually we do. 9 times out of 10, we'll be sitting around and someone will say, I wish we could do X. And we'll go, yeah, that would be great. And then we go, well, why can't we?
Amen.
Right? One of our principles is that creativity and innovation has got to be built into the work.
That's right.
We have to be willing to innovate and imagine what the world could be. So we're open to imagining together. Let's set something up and see what we can do. Throw something against the wall and see what sticks. At the very least, we'll learn something together. But I don't think this is the time for religious educators to kind of hide.
Yeah.
You know, some people have a very narrow image of what religious educators are like. When I told people I was coming to this conference, it's kind of like what they think librarians are like. Sweaters, and librarians are cool, right? But thinking that, you know, everybody's a little lady with glasses and the sweaters on the shoulders. And if you're a little lady with glasses and sweaters, that's fine. But, you know, religious educators rock. And have a lot of skills and capacity. Now's not the time to pretend like that isn't true.
That's right.
And I think that the more LREDA can do to partner not just with BLUU, but with other organizations that, as I see it, are at the vanguard of our faith.
Right.
Groups like Equal and Trust and UUJME and Drum. Partnering there to amplify UU education and theological development and what it really means to deepen your faith across the lifespan. We can do anything, and we should. Yeah. Okay.
So that's a good note to stop. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much.